Welcome, everybody. Can everybody hear me all right? Looks like we got Eric's Cool Cars, Tartarian Prog Rocker, Nobody, and Jamie. Who else is out there? Go ahead and say hello. Now is the time. Hey, Kathy, good to see you. Hey, Timothy, welcome. Hello, Amanda, welcome. Hey, Samson, Euro, Jor, Billy. All right. OIC, welcome. Good to hear from you. All right. Looks like we got a good crew to start off. Hey, Bargene, good to see you. All right, trying out a new audio system tonight, so let me know if there's any issues with that, but I think it might be a little bit more efficient. So, all right, well, it's good to see everybody, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So, let me go to sharing my screen, and let me know if you can see this. Marvelous, thanks, Eric. I appreciate that. Hey, Watchman, good to see you. All right, does everybody know what we're looking at here from earlier this week? Oh, right on, Samson. It's the Singer Building. And let me tell you all, finding pictures of the Singer Building is quite a chore. And trying to find pictures of the Singer Building in isolation is virtually impossible. Of course, you're going to say, well, it's on the skyline of Manhattan. But this is definitely one that was very interesting for the detail in the tower. Now, supposedly, the building was built in the 19th century initially. Hey, Daryl, welcome. Supposedly, the building was built in the 19th century, but then they added the tower in the early 20th century. Supposedly did it in a year, even though the tower is probably one of the more impressive features about it. Another one of those buildings with those odd stories, but definitely one of the prettier ones to look at, I think, and just some of the detail in the construction, especially at the top of the tower. Hey, welcome, David P. Welcome, Rush. Well, welcome. Good to see you here. Yeah, that's a good call out there, Jamie. Good call out there. Ramen Empire-esque. Yeah, and I agree on that one. Don't really know how they got it up there. I mean, we've got some very questionable construction photos, so. Well, hey, Daryl, welcome from Bloomington. M1, good to see you. Welcome back. So I want to ask you all a question. Why do you think it's difficult to find photos of the Singer Building, whether it's the exterior or the interior? Any ideas out there? These pictures are from Manhattan, nobody. Manhattan, New York City. Yeah, that's probably a lot of it. Hey, Mike Matinee, welcome. Maggot, good to see you. Yep, very different architecture. We like our hamster wheel cranes, don't we? Yep. Those are good comments, all of you, and it's probably all something to do with that. And, is it a building that came from another time, another place, another civilization? Yeah, probably. But, our civilization could have done it. It just doesn't seem very likely. Yeah, you're right on that one, Kathy. Definitely steampunk. Oh, great, great details there. Yeah, it does look like a mold. And that's something I've wondered about this one. And I think this is why, I mean, we've got the New York World Building that was built before this one, but something about this one just really stands out about just how technologically advanced it appears just looking at it. And, even comparing it to the other ones on the skyline. So, well, that's the $1 million question, nobody. Well, are we talking about we, the current civilization, or are we talking about the previous civilization? There's a lot of we's. Typically, when we say we, we're talking about us, the current civilization. So, but just a reference point. All right, let's go to the next one. Hey, and the login. So here's a little interior photo from the Singer Building, and interior photos are even harder to come by for this one. Yep, I agree. It looks like airships could have come up there and picked everybody up. But one of the comments I got on the interior of this, and there's another photo we'll look at after this one. Somebody said that it looked like it was very cheaply done on the inside. It was all stucco. But I mean, does this interior look like stucco to any of y'all? Yep. Well, and who knows? Maybe it did. Yeah, great comments right there. Right on, Tartarian prog rocker. 1 year crap guarantees. I agree. And that's another good call out, Jamie. Yeah, it definitely does. Definitely seems like it's a building that's way ahead of its time, which is why I think it landed there makes a lot of sense. That's a good one, Nameless Shim. I wonder if anybody has. Well, and New York City's a very interesting place, and it's an area that a lot of explorers are sometimes reluctant to touch because there's a lot of conflicting accounts with it, and not just Manhattan, but you got to consider the other boroughs of New York City. When you consider the account of the Bronx, it gets very complicated. I mean, something changed, something happened there as recent as the 1970s and the 1980s, and yet this is what we've got right now. Let's go to the next one. So this is the photo people typically refer to when they say that it looked like it was made with stucco, or they try to say it was cheap or what have you. I mean, really, does any of this look like it's cheap or made with stucco when you just look at the fine details in this? Yeah, that's a good call out. You can marble effect wood quite effectively. Potentially. I guess that's the real tragedy, though, is that we can't actually go and walk in this building and determine for ourselves what it's made out of. That was something that's always eye-opening to me when you can go to one of those old state capitals and you can actually go and touch the material on the inside and see, no, there's nothing stucco or cheap or temporary about it. That's all marble, that's all limestone, or that's some other material that's going to last for hundreds of more years. Yeah, that's a good call up there, David P. Nope, definitely not cheap. And that's just it, M1, and that's the thing we come across all the time is all these actions that we're told that led to these great results, whether it's building these amazing buildings in a short amount of time or what have you. We're always led with the explanation that, well, they just had to do it that way because they had no other alternative, even if they had limited resources. You know what? That's a good question there, Daryl. Let's pull back out here a second, see if we can maybe take a guess. We really don't know. We got the handrail, but does that go up to your waist or does that just go up further? Hard to say. Yep, and that's a good call out there too, Maggot. Yeah, you just don't know. Slow burn, welcome. Welcome, Raven. No worries. Good to see everybody. Yeah, and that could well have been. Maybe they didn't have the handrail in there originally. That's the tragedy, though. It seemed like they just wanted to pull down this building as fast as they could, and I mean, this building didn't get past the 1960s, unfortunately. Yep, you're on it there, Watchman. And then they say that they tore down the original one, rebuilt it. There's always that story too. We rebuilt the same structure in the same location, but with more lasting materials later, of course. Hey, Lars Larson, welcome. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go to the next picture. So here's our so-called construction photo of it. Hey, Jimmy, welcome. Here's our construction photo of the Singer Building, if you can really call it that. And very intriguing how they're supposedly building the tower here. And how convincing do you think this photo looks? And remember that this was just an addition to an existing building. Good one, Raven. Good one. Hmm. Yep, and that's the way it is, Watchmen. In any one of these structures that you can go to now, you're not going to find anything that's temporary. You know that it's hard structure material, whether it's limestone, sandstone. Yeah, good question on that one. Yeah, let's pull back out. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they always say those little things are cranes, and then you got these, but yeah, it just feels like it's such a pieced together photo. Well, of course it's whited skies. I mean, how else are you going to see the building unless you white out the skies, right? Yes, it does, doesn't it? Right there. Maybe it was one of those fires. It caught fire. You know, fires can do diagonal cuts like that. Yeah, good call out there, Scott. You never, ever really see workers in these. Yeah, dubbing and sealing wax. I like that. And no doubt about it, limestone goes everywhere. It travels well. Yeah, you're right, Raven. And if memory serves, the Pabst Mansion in Milwaukee, I think they'd originally built that for full climate control too. So, 1890s building that had AC and full heating in it. Oh, and electricity too. No worries. That's a good one. What you got there, Lars? Let me get back to that one. Well, it's very limited. I mean, we can't carbon date them now because they've been torn down for several decades. So I think that's part of concealing or obscuring what the real account is of what these buildings are and what they represented. So all I've got to go on are the buildings that are still standing to this day. Yep, absolutely. Well, welcome, Shane. Thank you very much for that. Hey, Andy. Well, we have to keep searching for answers, and we just have to keep pushing it because that's the only way we're going to get answers. If we just give up or roll over, then it's just going to continue on. And sometimes it's fun just to see people squirm, like our good friend from today's video. Now, here was one of the more telling images for me this, on the Singer Building, and these are the last images we'll look at. But supposedly, this was the deconstruction photo of it. I believe we're just going to have to discover it for ourselves. I don't think anyone's going to ever offer full disclosure, but things could change. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. But maybe I'm wrong. It's something I would be happy to be wrong about. Yeah, this was supposedly the deconstruction of the Singer Building. Yeah, that's so true. Pretty much anything you try to get, Lars, with any sort of science measurement on anything, it's obscured, or access is limited, or the people that are doing it, they're driven by patronage as well. Something I saw a lot in my academia career prior to. That's a good comment there, Tartarian Prog Rocker. I'm not going to display that one, but it's a good comment. Yeah, exactly. I've heard those rumors, but they could have come from anywhere. Or they could have been pulled up from any place in time. And who knows if Napoleon ever actually existed? That's always a question in and of itself. So, well, welcome, Slow Burn, and thanks for joining. All right, so we'll move on because this gets depressing looking at how the Singer building was torn down. I don't like it, but that's how it met its end, unfortunately. Okay, does anybody remember the name of this building? And this is another one from the Manhattan skyline. Welcome, Bluegrass. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, well, Stanley's a very interesting character in and of himself, isn't he, Raven? Oh, right on again, Samson and Jamie. You're both right. That's the Woolworth Building. So that was supposedly our early 20th century Gothic Gotham City architecture, as I like to call it. Oh, don't get me started on that guy. We'll be talking for a while. I'm gonna stay focused on the buildings for now, but when you get to Q&A in the end, you can let me know. That's a good one. Yeah, no doubt. That's a good question there, Maggot. All right, let's take another look at the tower here. So that's a close-up of the tower with our Gotham City architecture style on the Woolworth Building. And this is just the kind of detail you wonder, why do you have something like that that's so detailed, so high in the air, especially at a time when nobody was really flying and nobody was really going to be up there to see it, unless, of course, we have a realization that there were many people flying and there were people who were going to see the tower. Yep, exactly. And who knows what the original role of all that technology was out there? Arkham style. Yep. Yes. And what else would it be but Arkham style? Arkham Asylum style? Welcome, Guy Fawkes. Good to see you, and thanks for joining us. And who knows, End the login? Maybe that's what it was, or they were flying around on airships or some other technology, or maybe not. All right, let's go to the next one. Oh, before I do, yeah, it's a good one there, Bargene, and I think there's a lot of reality to it. Hey, Ryan, welcome. 17 Joy, welcome. Okay, moving on to the next one. So here's an interior of the Woolworth Building. And you see this very unique skylight again, and you'll see this in several of the Capitol buildings too. Then also the arches and the detail on the stairways. And what do you think about this kind of material? And by the way, this is a building that you can go see today. You can still visit the Woolworth Building. I think I went through there briefly back in '06, and it had one of those empowering energy feelings to it, but that was before I paid full attention to such things. So, well, Lars, since you asked, yes, just to summarize it, it's the theory that energy was drawn from the atmosphere by the tall towers. So, yeah, good one there, Jamie. Yeah, I agree, Ryan. And Woolworth was a stunner even before I had the eyes that I do, and it just blows my mind that back in 2006 I rolled through it without giving it, the further consideration that it was due. Look at the little clock there. Hey, 17 Joy. Okay, I'm back. Can everybody hear me again? Yeah, the chicken wire. That's a good one. Thanks, Timothy. I appreciate that. Thanks, Raven. Just had to switch mics there. Well, you try a different technical solution when you're traveling, and sometimes things happen. All right, well, let's go to the next one. And what do you think of this? Again, it's the Woolworth Building. Look at the detail there. And it's really looking at material like this that I think that tells you the real story of these buildings. Hey, Mega Triumph, good to see you. I missed that one, Jamie. Let me get that one highlighted. Yeah. Oompa Loompas, no doubt about it. I mean, what other explanation do we really have? I really wonder about that one, Scott. I'd love to talk to some of them and just see what their feelings were. But, again, that's happened in the distant past. Although the nice thing is this one's still standing. So, day laborers, Home Depot. Hey, Andy. Yeah, that's a good point. Imagine if the Singer building were still with us, how many people would be going to see that? So, yeah, that's true. And it does feel hypnotic. Temp workers, no doubt about it. All right, going to the next one. Okay, so now we're jumping over to Seattle and we're looking at this massive landscaping project or regrading project, as they called it there, where they supposedly took a couple decades to tear down some hills and rebuild some hills and level out the city. What are your all thoughts on Seattle pulling off this incredible construction and engineering project within just a few short decades to start the 20th century? Hey, Joanna, welcome. Good to see you. Seattle. That's right, guy. If you're on it. Yeah, I always wonder about that one too. You're on it, 17 Joy. But don't talk to our good friend, Mr. Dunning, about that because, he's got an answer for you. uh, hey, Scottish Tart. Yeah, department stores. Interesting how those old buildings end out. Hey, Dan and Phoenix, welcome. And that's my current synopsis and theory as well, Watchmen. I mean, it really looks like they're just digging these out. Yeah, just excavating here. Let's go to the next one. Yep, this is just excavating, isn't it? You got some big, tall hills around houses, and, it looks perfectly natural. It's the remains of Denny Hill. Yeah, sure it is. Oh, it's probably the same event, Ryan. Probably the same event, but they just give us different times for it. Just like all the fires in the cities. They all happen at a different time. Well, remember, Jamie, he is on Mount Star stuff with Carl Sagan, so there's a reason for that. And I'm sure you get a good explanation from him. Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, and here's the other challenge you come across, slow burn, is that, and I found this just looking at diaries from my own family. There's a lot of things that are altered, and there's a lot of things that are questionable. I even have conflicting accounts within my own immediate family from just the last 50 years. So you will come across things that'll tell you some odd things, but then you'll come across other things that'll contradict them. So it's just really hard to say. Yeah, it's a very good question. Yeah, that's what it looks like, doesn't it? Uh, yeah, but you see images like this and you just can't easily explain them. And, unless you're really going to the explanation that no, they're actually digging this city out. But, no one's going to want to accept that. Well, that's a good call out there, Geif. And I've had some feedback on
the video today, and some people were saying that, well, do you think why don't you believe in the flood? Like, well, I think the flood still happened. I just think this is an event that happened after the flood or the deluge. A big difference where everything was completely covered in water as opposed to the mud flood, which left a lot of the buildings and the structures. Yep, exactly. Right on, Scott. And that's the hardest part about it. I mean, we need to hold on to some things to give us a baseline, but at the same time, we've got to be willing to let go of those things as we do this research. And that's the most challenging thing about it. It's a reason why I have theory videos on just looking at time, the passage of time, but then also research. So thanks, Aluminum Falcon. What's an aluminum falcon? Well, it's not always level, Joanna. Sometimes you'll see it on a different base plane. You'll see it on a hill, or perhaps the foundations are a little bit different. It's not to say that liquefaction would have occurred equally throughout the soil either. Maybe it had different effects at different depths, depending on what kind of technology caused the liquefaction. But that's just a theory. Maybe you're right. Maybe there's something else with it that we just don't know. Maybe liquefaction is completely the wrong term. Hey, Viking Gnome, good to see you. Welcome. All right, now I wanted to jump back to Louisville, and I'm trying to remember what the name of this church was. Let me zoom in here. Oh, yeah, this was the Baptist Church at Walnut Street in Louisville. And the reason I just randomly pulled out this church from the Louisville exploration is you see this building design quite a bit, and it's replicated in different places. Although, believe it or not, the last thing you'll see it called is a traditional church, certainly not a Baptist church. It comes from that certain group that comes up a lot who has a lot to do with the buildings. So, but I just like looking at the tower here. And welcome, Albay Belton. You know what? We may live in a simulation. I certainly can't disprove that. Or it might be a dream. I'm going to wake up like Tom Cruise and running down from my Ferrari in the middle of New York City. I would never drive a Ferrari, so I doubt I would dream of one. But, if you like Ferrari, it's all good. Hey, Christopher Harvey, welcome. Oh, good call out there, Kathy. Maybe. Oh, yeah. Well, and who knows what they pulled off of this one, Viking Gnome. I mean, and this is one of those ones that was supposedly built from the late 19th century, but again, the timeline gets all confused, so. It's part of the experience, Raven. It's part of the experience. That's what they'll tell us. I smashed my knee up climbing a rock today, so believe me, I'm asking that same question. Hey, Charlie, good to see ya. Thanks for joining us. Hope all's going well in California. All right, let's go on to the next one. Now, this is one of the postcards, and this was from the Orphan Train, and then I pulled it back up, and I actually used it in Incubator Babies video. But what do you think this postcard is really telling us, and why is it significant? Hey, James Harcup, welcome. Good to see you. And I think there's a lot of evidence that some rivers are artificial, especially when you look deeper into the Mississippi. Yeah, and that's a good one there. Tartarian prog rocker. Yep, Cabbage Patch Kids, Bizarre. Where'd they come from? I'm going to posit some theories on that in these videos coming up next week on where these kids came from. I've got some ideas, but we'll see what you think of them. Yeah, quite possible. Hey, Ron, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Well, and who knows? I mean, we know they could have children, but it's interesting how they seem to need extra labor, and that's kind of a recurring theme you get with the farm life in the Midwest of the United States and in other locations. You know, they had children, but they needed more. They needed more labor. You know, and there's a lot of people with that story, and they kept the orphan train going. They didn't stop it. And there's probably a reason why we still have the Pied Piper story to this day. All the truth behind it. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, so this is going back from the date video. And this was a request by a viewer who won the competition on answering the questions for the channel. One thing I find interesting about this particular coin, though, is not just the obvious J in the year system, but also the depiction of the I on the left. Now, would anybody like to venture a guess, or perhaps you know, what this coin is supposedly from? What time frame? Yeah, it says US on it. That's obvious, but there's a little bit more of a story behind it. Oh, look at that. Well, thank you very much for that, William Cooper. I really appreciate that. And rest assured I will. I'm not stopping. Well, yeah, that's just it, too. You ever look at some of the older Roman coinage, though, and you're never going to see years on that. I've always wondered why. Yeah, that's right. Now let's go to the next one. Okay, so now we're going to play a little game of Where Are We? Does anybody know where this building is? And I'll give you a hint. We haven't covered it yet on the channel. Haven't done an exploration of the location here. Hey, Scott, welcome. Thanks for joining. Yeah, you're right, Jamie. 13 stars, and 13 is such a lucky number, isn't it? Well, we had 13 colonies in the United States, didn't we? CJ Trickster, welcome. Good to see you, Gail Sue. Well, it depends. Why don't you hold that question and ask me at the end, because I want to answer that one, because I think that's a great question, but it's going to take me a little bit longer to answer that one. So keep that tabbed and just ask me again at the end, because there's two answers to that. And hint, no, it's not what our good friend Mr. Dunning had to say either. Well, maybe. Who said, oh, that's a good one, DeMarcus Brown, Warrensburg, Missouri. Okay, I won't keep you in suspense. This is actually in Liverpool in the United Kingdom. And I'm looking to do an exploration of Liverpool here pretty soon, because there's this unique compilation of buildings that, of course, were built in the 1850s, even though we know the history of the United Kingdom, that it's been around for a very long time. And yet they have these same style of buildings that were built in the same time frame as the one in the United States. Yeah, you're right, Raven. I am. I'd love to have a professional photo where I look like I'm. Never mind. I've already gotten enough guff about being way too sarcastic on that video, so I'm just going to lay off. Okay. I think it's pretty clear how I feel. So, yeah, that's right. The liverbirds. Hmm. Yeah, and it could well be. Oh, sorry, Jeremy, I missed that one. Yes, I'm aware of who Anatoly Fomenko is. Uh, yeah, and you're right on with that one, T-Fetch, and that's the answer you'll get. Well, I mean, I'll admit I take a very even tone with a lot of the videos. I try to just keep it very straightforward. But sometimes, you know, when you've got somebody who talks and acts like that, and you'll come across a lot of people in this line of research who talk and act like that, where they're superior. It's because they say so. And it really reminds me of Dr. Zaius in Planet of the Apes. So I really just felt it was appropriate there to pull it out. Yes, I've pondered it quite a bit, Rubiador. And there's a lot of different answers that can come on to it. If you wait for this coming week's video, I'm going to start to answer some of those theories a little bit more too. It's actually integrated in one of them, so I don't want to give away too much. Yeah, exactly. Oh, what do we got there, Andy? What of all the Civil War relic stuff does this prove civil? Well, that's going to come up in a video on coming up this week, and it's really going to revolve around conflicts that were going on around the entire world from that time frame. So there's definitely a conflict going on, a lot of conflict going on in the 19th century. There is no doubt about that. And you can find evidence of that all over the place, to include the Civil War relics. And yes, there are Civil War relics. Oh, good one there, Raven. Back when The Simpsons was great. Yep, I miss those days. Okay, moving on. So now we'll jump over from the UK to Ireland. And do you remember what movie this was featured in? Let's see who gets it first. And yes, this was covered on the channel in the last movie review before Mad Max. Oh, right on there, Zardoz. You're all right. Dead right. Jeremy, just hold that question. Ask me again at the end when we get to Q&A about what I think about it. Yep, you're right. Many others. I always found this image from Zardoz kind of interesting because, here it shows the building and yet they have greater technology integrated. But this is an old world building that old John Borman rigged up to be the home of the Eternals in Zardoz. Oh, look at that. Jamie showing his knowledge. Okay, Jamie, which episode of Doctor Who was it featured in? Do you remember? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those are supposed to be glass domes. And just so you know, Samson, this is a movie set. I mean, the house is real, but John Borman added some aspects to it to make it look futuristic and science fictiony. Although it's always kind of funny. Oh, yeah, dead on, Jamie. Seeds of Doom. Yeah, for me, the only doctor is Tom Baker, but that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. All the other actors who portrayed the doctor are great. Okay. Yeah, exactly. It does look Doctor Who-ish. Okay, so here, back to one of our lovely ghost cities. And I got a lot of great comments about this one. Well, don't worry on that one, T Fetch. I haven't really watched Doctor Who since 1986, I think. Yep, you're on with that one, Scottish Tart. That's China. A lot of great comments, though, about the possibility of why they have a tower like this. Hey, Tabor, thanks for joining us. Good to see you. Oh, that's a good call out. Yeah, I like that there, Viking Gnome. And just so much detail with this one, too. Well, you just call the right contractors and you can get an Eiffel Tower put up in your backyard. It's really not that complicated. Yes, I have checked out Crater Earth, Ryan, and I've alluded to it a little bit in some of the Admiral Byrd videos, Operation High Jump videos. Hello, JJ Organics. Welcome. Yeah, well, it was a bit of a quote unquote exploitation film, and I sure as heck wasn't going to show the photo of Sean Connery in a wedding dress. Although, as embarrassing as Zardoz might have been for him, I think he was far more embarrassed when he appeared in Highlander 2. But again, just my opinion. Yeah, exactly. All right, moving on. Let's leave the ghost cities. Okay, does everybody remember where this one was? These two wonderful buildings, structures, whatever you want to call them. Which city was this in? This was featured in a very recent video. Turkestan, yeah, Turkmenistan, you're not far off. Close, Jamie. This is actually Ashgabat. So this is in Turkmenistan. We'll get to Astana here in a little bit. Oh, yes, this is real. You can go and look yourself up on Ashgabat and see these buildings. They've really built them in Turkmenistan. Ashgabat, and they've got how many different names for it. Yeah, it does look like it's some kind of weapon from some James Bond movie, doesn't it? Good to see you. Welcome. Yeah, no doubt. They're all temporary at the end of the day, right? I mean, you can say that and be technically correct. They're all temporary. Good questions, T-Fetch. And there's going to be other explorations following up on that. I've also got to get back to Tbilisi. Yeah. And many different theories for what these buildings could really be doing, or are they just superficial? So oh yeah. True enough. Okay, moving on. All right, so now we're in Astana. I'll just go ahead and tell you the presidential palace in Astana. And this is a bit of a beauty. Supposedly, it's just a monument building. That's what they'll tell us, or a building that's just there to provide aesthetic appeal to the city. But I've gotten a lot of great theories in the comments as to what it could be used for, whether it is some sort of energy harnessing device or it's a device that produces energy. So, good question in the login, and those are questions we'll keep asking. Yeah, it does have a Vegas look to it too, doesn't it? Although I don't know, there's something a little bit more pretty about these ones than Vegas, but maybe it's just because I've got a issue with Vegas. It's not really a place I like to be in. It's a pretty city, don't take me wrong. There's something with the terrain around there. I always feel strange when I'm there. Yep, and those comments might all be true. And there's no doubt about that. And not just around the city, but also in the surrounding nations too. Because I've actually been there, and it's interesting the disparity that you have between just a few miles here and there. Now, granted, you'll see it in cities anywhere in the so-called Western world. Yeah, that could all be true. Project Bluebeam projector. Yep. Let's go to the next one. Oh, yes. Here's our favorite shopping center. I really like this one because, you don't have a shopping center shaped like this, and now are people going to want to go out and go shopping? Yeah, there you go. Imagine if we had Walmarts or Costco's shaped like that. How many people would be going to those? That's just what they told me. Thank you again, William Cooper. Appreciate that. And take care of yourself and have a great weekend. Yes. Or some sort of underground bunker, doesn't it? And just something really bizarre about all this. But that's why it's interesting to look at, right? Now, I had some great feedback on this particular photo that the shadowing was off, and I certainly agree with that. There's definitely something a little off with this photo, although you got to like the pyramid in the background. Yeah, no one is carrying goods. That's a good point. So are they really shopping? Don't know. Yep, you're both on with that one. I think I saw maybe one person even carrying something. It just looked like a regular handbag, not a ton of shopping bags. I wonder if that's what it was motivated by, the old Legend of Zelda. You got to make sure you hold the Triforce up over your head like Link does every time he finds something. Yeah, I'm dating myself there. I'm going back to the original NES game, The Legend of Zelda. All right, let's go on to the next one. Okay, so this is an interior picture of the hotel. And then through this archway here, you can see the so-called shopping center, although who knows if that's what it really is. Yeah, good one on that, Kathy. All right, let's see here. Let's find a good window to zoom in on. Yeah, you just have some strange appearances there. Strange reflections. Does actually kind of look like that, doesn't it? It's been a while since I've seen Chronicles or Riddick. Back in the days when Vin Diesel was really cool and not continuously doing Fast and the Furious movies. Typically, yeah. All right, hold on. Let's look at the previous photo real quick. Yeah, you get some strange reflections on this one. Yeah, the mothership reflection. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll go ahead and post these photos up on Reddit, and if y'all want them in any other locations, just let me know so you can do your own examinations. Because yeah, there's a lot more to be unpacked from these. No doubt about it. Oh yes, here's our beautiful pavilion. Maybe so. Yeah, this was part of the competition. It's a good call out there, James, and that's something we see more and more of. A beautiful sphere pavilion. That's right. There's probably something more to that, James. I haven't covered that yet in explorations, but I will be getting to it. Good comments, all of you. All right. Well, that's the last official photo that we have. But if you'd like, just let me know if you'd like any or all these photos posted up on the Reddit. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that pediment, that was something else, wasn't it? Supposedly, I guess we'll see what we get. Glad you enjoyed them. Yeah, a lot of these are. I'll go along with that, Jamie. Yeah, and I wonder on that one too, Tabor. Okay, so we've reached question and answer. So let's see here. Who was it who had the earlier question that I asked to hold off? No, someone asked about Anatoly there. Cymatic Gardens. Okay, okay. Oh, thanks, Ryan. I appreciate that. I think it was Gail who asked that question. I should have started. I always forget I have that option. I'm trying to remember what the question was about, but go ahead and light me up with your questions if you got them right now. Because I think we had a couple. Anatoly Fomenko, 1,000 years. I think there was a lot of hard research that went into that, and it's very clear that you can show mathematically that years have been added to the chronology. But the question is, and I brought this up in the date paradox video, is we just don't know what the baseline events are. That's always the problem when you have a calendar. Oh, thanks on that one, James. Oh, that's right. Okay. So when the Tartarian, the mud flood research first came about, officially we'll be told it was the mid 2010s, but just so you all know, in academic circles, there were, how shall we say, independent researchers who were asking these questions in the early 2000s. I even think there were some in the late 90s who were starting to ask questions. Now they might not have called it a mud flood, but the previous civilization theories were always there. They just used to call it Atlantis, but it's the same principle, the same concepts, and believe it or not, a lot of the same research that went with the same evidence that we're looking at now. There's some, Scott. It's hard to verify because a lot of the native cultures are very guarded with what they share to other people. But you can and will find accounts where they do give allusions to these, such as the Amazon and in the Southwest United States with more specific locations. I have not read the Hefferlin manuscript, but I'm going to take a note on that one. Yeah, and that's exactly what they would say too. Why would anybody lie? Why would anybody change anything? What's there to gain? Hey, May, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, and that's what it boiled down, and you're right. And back in the '90s and the early 2000s, I mean, you had the baseline internet, but being able to talk or reach other people who thought the same way was very difficult. I just happen to remember there were probably about 2 or 3 professors in the history department who actually talked about it and really questioned this. And I think 2 of them were denied tenure and the other one was fired for unknown reasons. That was in the late 90s. That was just the university I was at. So I heard similar stories at other universities, but I can't verify that. No, and you're absolutely right. We have been asking those questions. It's just now it's become a lot more obvious when we look at them and we compare them to our current buildings. Or if you ever see them trying to repave a street or a road in your hometown, especially if you're in the United States, you notice it just doesn't go so well. Oh, yeah, someone's up for Mad Max 2, or the Road Warrior, as we call it in the United States. And no American dub for that, thank goodness. Oh, the food vendor. Okay, hold on. Let me get that back up. The food vendor. All right. Where was the food vendor? Yeah, exactly, May. Yeah, it's a good call out there, James. It's hard to find that one, so. Oh yeah, I think this is the one you were talking about with the food vendor. Interesting goings ons here, huh? Well, now we call them expos. You always got to change name a little bit, but yeah, it's still a World's Fair. So what are you going to do? Oh goodness. Hey Joe, and I think that's a good call out on that one. All right. Well, just a couple final announcements if nobody has any other questions at this time. So, we're going to be looking to stretch the legs a little bit on the channel, a little bit more comfortable with changing some explorations. I'm going to look to get into Europe a little bit. Alluded to that with the exploration of Liverpool. There's a lot of interesting structures to look at. I'm looking at doing a cathedral comparison, the finest cathedrals of the United States against the finest cathedrals of the European area and the United Kingdom, because there's a lot of great comparisons. Maybe a St. Paul, Minnesota, and against St. Paul in London. See how that comparison goes. Yeah, there's actually two cathedrals called St. Paul. Oh, looks like we got a movie fan here. Oh yeah, we can do more of those. I've actually considered starting another channel that just focuses on movie reviews, but we'll see. Yeah, I think everybody there looks uncomfortable. But that's the direction we're gonna go. We got a couple. There's one city exploration coming up this week, and then gonna look to stretch things out a little bit. Yeah, that's another one. Cathedrals all over the land. Oh, you want me to hit Helena, Montana? You know that Old World Exploration just did a really good one on that one. I think. I think you just did that this last week, if memory serves. All right. Well, we'll get to some more film reviews. So, well, thanks, internet person. Appreciate that. All right. Well, I'll give you one last chance if you have any final questions or any requests you want to ask. Oh, what you got, Viking Gnome? I think it was some sort of structure. There's no doubt about it. I think it was either some large fortress or perhaps it was some sort of, well, maybe it was a part of a large complex and that's all that's left of it. It's interesting how there's the walls that appear to flow from it. So, hey, Dylan, yeah, that's a good call out too. St. Paul's everywhere. Well, appreciate that, Scott. You enjoy Metropolis. Oh, we'll be going back there a little bit more, and actually to the other side, to the other pole, because guess what? Admiral Byrd went there too. So yeah, if only. That's another mystery for the ages. I think I've got a video. No, I do have a video coming up where I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So, all right. Well, it's been another great experience with everybody, and I appreciate all your comments and appreciate your participation. And it's just been a blast. So I'm going to get some ice on my knee, and hopefully I'm back up to full mobility tomorrow. And if you're all lucky, there just might be a video tomorrow. Just might in the morning. Oh, we got one last question. I'll field this question before I go. Do you think the last reset was a peaceful one? It might have been more peaceful than some of the other ones, but ultimately, no, I don't think it was a peaceful one. I think it was something that was done with a bit of a mix of subterfuge where they tricked the people into going to places where they were not going to be safe. And then the people who didn't listen to that, they started a campaign against to destroy them after the reset. So, underground cities. Hey, Gail. I hope you got the answer to the question about when the Tartary and the mud flood research started. If you didn't, just let me know. And I'll hold out for you because you did ask that question. I want to make sure you got a good answer to it. Well, thanks, Kathy. It'll be fine. I've smashed it against the rock so many times. It's just one of those issues I have. Still think I can just hop around on those rocks really fast. Maybe one day I'll learn my lesson, but not today. Yeah, I could do Billings and Helena. Montana's a very interesting place, no doubt about it. All right, an underground city. Well, we got several that we can pick from, but you know what? There might be one that I know of that not a lot of other explorers know of. And I might just happen to have some photos of it too. So, yeah, I definitely think it was the Civil War, but there's a lot of other conflict that was going on at the same time. So, all right. Well, I think everybody's got the answers. So, well, that's okay, Chassis. It's good to see you now. All right, so we'll explore an underground city. We'll potentially look at Montana and some locations there. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it was peaceful at all. So, all righty. Well, I think that's about it for now. If anybody has anything else or they want me to attend to, just let me know in the comments or hit the channel email or contact me on Reddit or Twitter. I monitor all of them. So, and it's been great to see everybody tonight. And I hope you have an enjoyable weekend. And if you're in the United States, you enjoy the 4th of July weekend. It's always a good time. And all for the rest of you across the lands, enjoy your weekend. And I look forward to seeing you soon. And everybody have a great night. Thanks for joining me.